The small town of Ellerslie, Georgia, was not a place often visited by outsiders, or at least not outsiders with intentions beyond passing through. As Carter Grant and his documentary team pulled into town, they couldn't shake the oppressive quiet that loomed around every corner. The landscape was a smudge of faded greens and browns under a perpetually overcast sky. The winding roads as worn and weary as the folks who lived here. The team consisted of Carter, a seasoned journalist with a knack for uncovering eerie truths, Liz, a tech whiz with nerves of steel, and Darren, the skeptic of the group, whose investigative instincts kept them grounded. Their aim was to delve into a series of mysterious vanishing acts that had plagued Ellerslie, notably the case of Christopher Tompkins, a young land surveyor who went missing while walking a fence line during a routine day at work. Their first stop was the local diner, a relic of post-war charm that now sat as a hushed gathering place for townsfolk. It was here they heard the whispers of elders about the legends surrounding the land, ancient stories that were resurging amidst the eerie disappearances. As Carter took notes, he couldn't help but feel the story was lying in wait for them, ready to emerge from the fog. The diner's ambience was thick with cigarette smoke and the aroma of fried food, a stark reminder of simpler times. Liz set up a small recording device on the table, capturing the murmured stories of local patrons. Each tale seemed to paint Christopher not just as a missing person, but as a part of a larger mystery linking back to the land itself. An old man, hunched with age, spoke of the place as cursed, his voice trembling like rusted hinges in the wind. He claimed the fence line was built over sacred grounds, an unsettling notion that made Liz shiver despite the warmth inside. "They're protectin' somethin'," he wheezed, eyes wide with fear and conviction. Outside, Darren paced along the edge of the parking lot, his gaze locked on the distant tree line. There was something about the woods that pulled at him, as if whispering secrets only he was meant to hear. As the sun dipped further west, it cast long shadows, and somewhere the call of a solitary bird echoed across the fields, its cry as haunting as the stories they'd just heard. At dawn, the team headed out to the fence line where Christopher was last seen. The air was crisp, cutting through their jackets as they navigated the uneven terrain. The landscape was both beautiful and foreboding, an expanse of rolling hills and dense thickets that seemed to swallow sound. Liz adjusted her camera, capturing footage of the rusted barbed wire crisscrossing between weather-beaten posts. She paused, focusing on the peculiar way fog clung to the earth, swirling around their feet like a living thing. Darren noted the odd placement of small stone piles, arranged with such precision it was as if they were markers from an ancient map. Carter took mental notes, his eyes scanning for anything that could offer a shred of explanation. But the world around them was eerily quiet save for the occasional rustle of wind through leaves. An unshakable feeling of being watched gnawed at him, as if the land itself resented their intrusion. A mile down the fence line, they found the spot where Christopher's presence seemed to cease. His abandoned sock lay twisted in the grass, a jarring image against the natural canvas. Coins, old and toasted by time, were scattered nearby, glinting dully under the somber sky. Darren knelt, tracing a finger along the ground, brushing away the earth to reveal a faint print beneath. It was large, too large for human, and bore the semblance of antediluvian nightmares. Liz filmed silently, capturing the growing unease etched on Darren's face. Carter felt a shiver of dread coil tighter, for the scene before them did not hint at a simple disappearance. There was an intelligence in the pattern, a methodical placement of these relics, as if marking a passage between worlds. The horizon seemed to sway slightly, an illusion born of fear, or perhaps something worse. As midday approached, clouds gathered, stitching the sky into a seamless sheet of gray. The team regrouped at the edge of the woods, deciding to follow the intuitive pull that urged them deeper into the trees. The forest was a cathedral of sound, with every twig snap and rustle echoing ominously beneath the canopy. Liz couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, her camera lens capturing fleeting movements in the periphery, shadows darting behind trunks, the branches swaying without any wind. Darren tried to rationalize the occurrences, a hard skepticism protecting his sanity. Carter led the way, the air heavy with anticipation, and the quiet promise of secrets just beyond reach. Each step forward felt like a trespass into forbidden realms, where time dilated and the landscape warped, shifting into a tableau both beautiful and threatening. Deep in the woods, the world shifted. Carter stopped abruptly as the ground dipped downward into a clearing, its perimeter lined with ancient stones set in the earth like the sentinels of forgotten eras. The air was colder here, woven with the strange melodies of distant whispers. Liz set the camera down to explore the patterns engraved into the stones, tracing her fingers over the symbols that felt older than time itself. Their meaning danced on the edge of her mind, elusive yet eerily familiar. Darren's cynical veneer began to crack as he observed their surroundings, the skeptical fortress of his beliefs collapsing piece by piece. Above, the sky held its breath, suffusing the clearing with a pall of silence. Carter glanced at his team, understanding that they stood upon something monumental, a keystone that might unlock the truth of the disappearances, or their own undoing. Nightfall draped the forest in a cloak of shadows, the path to the town veiled by the darkness that seemed to seep from the very earth. The team decided to camp for the evening, setting up near the stones that now felt like guardians against the thickening unknown. Around a small fire, they sat quietly, the crackling flames a lone defiance against the encroaching void. Carter suggested they go over their findings, but their voices barely rose above whispers. The air was charged with an expectancy, as if they were intruding upon an age-old ritual. As sleep edged closer, dreams became troubled. Liz awoke with a start, the shadows weaving through the camp as if alive, and from the depths of the forest came a mournful sound, a mix between a wail and the low moan of howling wind, resonating with inexplicable sorrow. The sound persisted through the night, silencing the wildlife that dared not compete with its mournful crescendo. With morning came a tense resolution. Carter knew they couldn't leave without plumbing the depth of whatever haunted these woods. Retracing their steps, they moved towards an area Liz had spotted on the camera. A slight break in the dense foliage leading to an ancient trail lost to maps. This echoed the old man's warning at the diner, and the gravity weighed heavier on their shoulders. Following the trail, they encountered odd relics, vacant huts swallowed by the land, stone altars riddled with moss, and totems staring with eyeless sockets. The deeper they went, the stranger and more alien the landscape became, like a forgotten chapter of history bleeding into the present. The trail ended abruptly at a sheer rise of rock, where the forest seemed to have opened its arms to swallow them whole. Carter, feeling the forest pulse like a living entity, noticed small carvings reminiscent of those on the stones, guides to something deeper, something most souls were not meant to find. Darren's rationality was a threadbare cloak now, fending off nervous speculation about the unnatural aura. Liz felt it too, a presence, vast and unseeing, yet aware in ways they were ill-prepared to comprehend. The recordings played back unintelligible voices, a chorus of lament carried on the wind. Faced with the impossibility of the task, they unanimously agreed to regroup, to return to the clearing with what records they had, hoping the forest would show mercy and let them leave with their minds intact. Returning to the town was like shaking off a suffocating dream, yet they couldn't relinquish the forest's grip on their minds. At dusk, the group reviewed the footage and notes, uncovering hideous parallels with historical disappearances drawn from local lore. Liz noticed something chilling. Amidst the recordings of their journey, the eldritch whispers grew more coherent. They grew louder, forming discernible phrases. It was as if the forest continued to speak, even from miles away. Darren, always the pragmatist, grappled with the unraveling threads of his skepticism. As they pieced together the fragments of history, it became clear that the fence line running through Ellerslie was not simply a boundary, but a seam between worlds, between now and then. It was never Christopher Tompkins who was lost, but rather he had found a passage and never returned.